WCNC Charlotte. This is Flashpoint, where power and politics collide and the tough questions get asked and answered.
Thanks for joining us here on Flashpoint. I'm Ben Thompson. Historically, North Carolina may be one of the only states where the Commissioner of Labor was a household name after Cherie Berry's headshot hung in elevators here for some 20 years. Of course, that position is about a lot more than keeping elevators safe. It oversees 4 million workers statewide, and our two guests today running for the role this November have big ideas for the job. Democrat Braxton Winston, former mayor pro tem here in Charlotte, and then also Republican Luke Farley, an attorney from Wake County. We're joined now by Braxton Winston, a familiar face to a lot of folks here in Charlotte after serving on city council for a number of years. Welcome back to the show. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me, Ben. Great to be back here.
All right, so tell me, if you could write the job description for what you think labor commissioner is, what is it?
The labor commissioner's number one job is to ensure that every worker goes home alive and safe at the end of the workday. It also is there to make sure that everybody is getting all the money, all the wages that they earn, and that all work is dignified and workers feel that dignity in their work and their workplace.
So knowing that, you also know that for more than 2 decades now, it's been held by a Republican. What difference do you think would be made by someone like yourself, a Democrat, running the agency?
Well, Ben, you know, one thing to remember, I think, is important to understand is that, you know, labor issues have always been political, but they really should not be partisan, right? What is partisan, again, about expecting to come home with a fair day's pay after a fair day's work, or the ability to go to work in healthy and safe environments, or be able to get a drink of water, or use the bathroom, or protect yourself from the hot sun? But the truth is, you know, I'm going up against a guy who is a 39-year-old lawyer who's never been elected to public office in his life, and he's made his practice defending companies, construction companies predominantly, who are under investigation by the Department of Labor. So in this race, the choice couldn't be more clear between the two. Who do you want to be the lead advocate for workers in North Carolina? A worker like you, or your boss's attorney?
You've said before that you think workers in North Carolina are paid less, get fewer benefits, and are subject to more union busing actions than workers in any other state. You also know that we have been ranked best in business for a number of years. How do you strike a balance between those two things? Because I know you say you can, but how?
Well, you know, again, I don't think the idea of being number one for business and workers should be seen as mutually exclusive, because, in fact, they're not mutually exclusive. Where do businesses want to set up? They want to go to places where the workforce is strong, resilient, diverse, and educated. Workers want their bosses to make a lot of money, you know, expand opportunities, and build wealth in communities. They just want a fair situation at work. And I think those two things can be achieved if you prioritize. And frankly, our state has prioritized this over the years in the past. I think that's how we get to the situation we're at today, where our economic trajectory is going up and to the right. We have a history of investing in public education from K through 12 through universities and beyond. That is under attack, right? That was part of the reason why we fell from number one in state to do business to number two. We also have fallen behind because we are not investing in the infrastructure that builds our communities and strengthens the things that workforces need to strive. This was also cited by CNBC over this past year. So they are literally saying, if you don't invest in your workforce, if you don't invest in your people, your situation for business will degrade over time. And I think that's, to me, it's common sense. You've
said the state's labor department is understaffed.
Yes.
What does that mean for the folks at home in an appreciable way?
So 1 in 4 safety compliance positions, those folks that are investigating when there's a workplace accident or workplace death, or the division that is inspecting all the elevators and amusement park rides, 1 in 4 of those positions goes unfilled. So when you have a position where there's 106 positions budgeted, but only about 85 or 90 that are being staffed at any given time, that means that over 4 million workers in North Carolina, over 400,000 businesses are reliant on that very small amount of people. And I think we taxpayers should get that full dollar worth of taxes that they're paying on time, every time when they contact the Department of Labor.
Minimum wage right now is $7.25. Some states make it higher than that. Should we?
no worker who's working 40 hours a week should live in poverty. And frankly, that is what our minimum wage is. It's below poverty wages. Workers need to get paid better in North Carolina. When I was here first on City Council here in Charlotte, our lowest paid worker was getting paid $13.80 an hour, despite the data showing us that the living wage in Charlotte was anywhere from $17 to $21 an hour. When I left City Council, the lowest paid worker in the city was getting paid over $22 an hour. So these things are possible, especially if governments are doing it with very limited resources. There's no reason why our companies and corporations in our state should not be.
Do you advocate for it, I assume, if you are elected into office?
For sure. The minimum wage is a legislative issue, so it's not something that the Commissioner of Labor can necessarily change on its own. But the Commissioner of Labor is part of the responsibility is to build a workforce. In order to do that, you need wages.
That brings me to a question I asked last week of the Democratic superintendent candidate for public instruction. And that is, assuming we have a Republican General Assembly, which I think a lot of people, there might not be a supermajority, but it more than likely will still be. How do you, no matter how good you think your ideas are, how do you work with them?
Well, you go and talk. You go and have conversations. You show up, and you find places to find common ground. That's the way I've worked when I was on City Council. But going up to Raleigh and talking with a lot of Republican leadership, you don't have rose-colored glasses on to think that you're going to get to be able to change the way everybody thinks. But you could take a practical effect of sitting down with people, finding places that you have common ground, and focusing on those common grounds. And if you are not able to find common ground, then you have to move on to the next person to get stuff done for the people of North Carolina.
Yeah, I think you've said before you're a union member. This is a right-to-work state.
Yeah.
How do you plan to support unions here in North Carolina?
Well, there's nothing more American than the idea and function of a labor union. It says it in our preamble of our Constitution. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union, do ordain and establish this Constitution. The Constitution is the collectively bargained contract that we all abide by, and that is there to help us adjudicate our conflicts, while protecting all of our rights. The job of the Commissioner of Labor is to stand with workers, and that's what unions are. Unions are organizations of workers that come and organize themselves. So I think it's the job of Commissioner of Labor, whether or not workers are part of unions or not, to stand with those workers.
You enjoying watching City Council from afar. This past week got Red Line and Eastland Yards, things that you dealt with when you were on City Council. There's
some great things that are going on, and there's some challenges. To be completely honest, I'm very concerned with the direction of the transit plan. The idea was that it's supposed to be a kind of backbone to a larger regional network that is needed to keep people moving in and through Mecklenburg County, and I'm highly concerned that the plan that's going forward will not be that, and that we will are considering investing in two different Charlottes. I thought that was something that we were supposed to be getting away from. That does not seem like the case with what Charlotte City Council is considering right now.
All right, Braxton Winston. Braxton, thanks. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Up next, we talk to Republican candidate Luke Farley about what he hopes to bring to the role of Labor Commissioner.
Welcome to the ATL. Turn down. The Chiefs are coming to town. With Mahomes and all them weapons, they're champs for a reason. But my dirty bird got a fresh new look. We're ready. Sunday night is where it all goes down.
Mornings on WCNC Charlotte.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for starting your day with us.
It's news that impacts you.
We're catching you up on the latest news from overnight.
Richard Evade live now with the breaking news.
This is the situation in Charlotte, Douglas.
The weather impact forecast.
Rain moving into the area. I'll have the latest on when it'll impact you.
Road conditions with impact traffic.
Big slowdowns. Here's the best way to get around it.
Prepare for your day every day with WCNC Charlotte. News that impacts you.
For the first time in 13 years, North Carolina's violent crime rate is higher than the national rate. A new CMPD report shows the city is seeing a 300% increase in homicides committed by teenagers.
With violent crime on the rise, North Carolina needs an attorney general who will keep us safe. But Jeff Jackson won't keep us safe. Jeff Jackson voted to allow early release of violent criminals from prison, murderers, rapists, carjackers. Jeff Jackson won't keep us safe.
This is me at my strongest.
This is me at my fastest.
This is me at my healthiest.
With Atrium Health on your team, you can achieve your personal best and live life to the fullest.
Gone are the days of trying to design your dream bath from a catalog or multiple trips to the home center. West Shore Home is proud to introduce our free online bath designer. Go to westshorebath.com and build your dream bath from tons of styles and options. When you're done, click schedule now and get your free quote as early as tomorrow. It has never been easier to get started. Plus, this week, get free installation and 4 full years of no interest. Don't wait, you could be interest-free until 2028.
From our family to you, Hughes Flood Covering.
From the minute you walk in, you'll see the Hughes difference. Experience the full line of Mohawk brands, including Revwood laminated wood flooring, long-lasting beauty, durable and stylish sustainability made right here in the USA. Visit us at either of our locations in Charlotte and Indian Land, South Carolina.
Hughes Flood Covering.
In pain, call Shane.
980-999-9999.
It's what people in Charlotte do when they're hurt in a wreck.
In pain,
call Shane.
Injured, you call Shane.
Just call 980 and keep dialing 9.
It's fast and easy.
I called Shane Smith, then I had a lawyer.
Injured in a car wreck? Call me, Shane Smith. You can talk to a lawyer right now for free. In pain? You know what to do. Call Shane.
Welcome back to Flashpoint. We are highlighting the 2 candidates for labor commissioner here in North Carolina. Now the Republican in the race, an attorney from Wake County looking to start his career in politics with a big win in this race. I am joined now by the Republican candidate for labor commissioner, Luke Farley. Luke, thanks for coming on. Welcome to Flashpoint. Nice to have you.
Ben, pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me down in the Queen City.
Absolutely. A pleasure to have you. First question, if you could write a job description for this job, labor commissioner, what would it be?
Keeping workers safe, healthy, and employed. The number one job of the North Carolina Labor Commissioner is to keep our working men and women safe and healthy, to make sure everybody goes home at the end of the workday. But for me, it doesn't end there. I want every worker to have a fantastic job to go to the next day. So that's the number one responsibility of the North Carolina Labor Commissioner.
So as you know, CNBC has said that we're best for business, although I think this year we were number 2. But for a couple of years, we were number 1. We're still up there at the top. But as you know, on the other side of that comes some worker issues. The Observer reports that a worker dies in the state every 10 days. Oxfam America found that North Carolina is the worst state for workers. A spokesperson telling the Daily Tar Heel, the newspaper up at Chapel Hill, if you have the same job in North Carolina that you have in California, you'd be paid much more in California, and you have a lot more protections at work. Even something as simple as if your kid is sick and needs to stay home from school, you can take a sick day and not lose your paycheck. Understanding that the Republican point of view on some of these things is regulations can suffocate a business and you don't want to have over-regulation. Is there a point to be made there? Do the 4 million workers of North Carolina deserve more protections?
Well, there's always more we can do to improve things for our working men and women in this state. But I believe the very best way to improve conditions for workers in this state is to create a hot job market. I'd ask anybody, think about the times in your own working life when you were best able to negotiate with your employer for a higher salary, better benefits, better leave time. That was when you had a hot job market. And so one thing we can do above everything else to empower workers in this state is create a hot job market, create demand for workers, because when workers are in demand, they've got power and leverage over their employer.
So you said you think that this office can be a secret weapon for economic development. Explain.
Yeah. So when businesses are looking, job creators are looking to expand their operations or even relocate to North Carolina, one of the things they're looking at is what's the regulatory environment? Is this a place where the regulations are enforced fairly, evenly, and consistently across the board? And when that environment exists, job creators want to come here and they want to bring jobs with them. And so the Labor Department can play this crucial role in creating an environment and conditions where people want to do business. And when they want to do business here, jobs come here. Jobs mean salaries paid, salaries mean mortgages paid. And so it's a rising tide that lifts all boats. And so the Labor Department can play a crucial role in that.
Do you think, we talked about the survey from CNBC and we talked about the Oxfam, do you think that you can have a state that is best in business and best in workers? And if so, why aren't we there?
Absolutely.
You've had a number of Republicans in this position for years now.
Well, absolutely, you can be best in business and best for workers, and those things go hand in hand, right? It's the businesses that create the jobs, and it's the workers that keep the businesses running. And so an approach that looks after both, especially our small businesses, is the right way to go. I mean, by and large, most people are employed in a small business in this state.
So then I'll ask you the tough question. What have your predecessors, Republicans, not done right?
Well, there's always just more to be done. I think there's been a lot of good progress. North Carolina, for instance, our rate of workplace injuries is one of the lowest in the country and below the national average. So we've been doing a lot of things right. We always can get that number lower, but things are going in the right direction, but there's more to be done.
Minimum wage right now, $7.25 nationally. Some states hike that up more. What do you think of it right now?
So I'm interested in real wage growth and not artificial wage growth, right? Changing wages in a statute on a piece of paper, I want to go beyond that. I want to see real wage growth for our workers. And that's what I talk about. The best way to empower workers in this state is to have a hot job market, because when workers are in demand, they can dictate terms of salary, benefits, and things like that. And so that's what I'm focused on, is real wage growth for our employees in this state. The other thing to keep in mind, too, if you look at California, right? California just jacked its minimum wage for fast food workers 25%. And what happened? 1,200 pizza delivery drivers were fired overnight. Restaurants are closing. So we have to be realistic that we want real wage growth, not just wage growth on paper.
The conservative case for having too many regulations sometimes it can hurt businesses. In your view, broadly speaking, are unions a good thing or a bad thing?
I think where we are with unions is exactly where we need to be, which is to say workers have a right to join and form a union if they want to. They also have the right not to join a union if they don't want to. And to me, that's the balanced approach. I think that's where the law is today. That's where I'd like to see the law stay. I think that respects both workers' rights and individual rights to decide for themselves what organizations they want to join.
Let's talk about a proposed, it's called the federal heat standard. It would offer protections to folks working under certain hot conditions. Sounds exactly what it is. What do you think is wrong with something like this?
So I absolutely think we need to protect workers from the heat. I mean, over the years, I've had jobs working outside North Carolina summer. I know how oppressive it can be to work out in North Carolina in July and August. So we absolutely need to protect our workers. The question is, what's the best way to do it? Do we take a one-size-fits-all mandate from the Biden administration, or do we have a North Carolina solution that's tailored to North Carolina's climate, North Carolina's workers, and the jobs that North Carolina's workers do? And that's what I favor, a simplified, streamlined regulation that protects North Carolina workers with a North Carolina focus. And as Labor Commissioner, one of the very first things I'm going to do is sit down with all the stakeholders, employees, employers, and workplace safety experts to figure out what is the right North Carolina solution.
All right. Candidate for Labor Commissioner Luke Farley. Luke, thanks for coming on. Good to see you.
Pleasure's all mine.
Coming up on Flashpoint, shocking new soil tests revealed dangerous chemicals under a Mooresville daycare. The concerns from some of those local families coming up.
Last-minute showings can be stressful.
Babe.
With a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, you can bypass the market and close in as little as 21 days. No showings, no open houses, no stress. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer today.
Now's the time to get a great deal on taking care of your property. You need the #1 selling subcompact tractor in the U.S. so you can do it all and do it right. Z-Series mowers that deliver a quality cut, and Sidekick utility vehicles where durability meets speed. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 72 months on select BX models.
Find a Kubota dealer near you at gokubota.com.
Hey, so I found a betting system that's really working great for me.
So did I. What's yours?
I set up an hour-a-week time limit on FanDuel. I can also set up wager limits, so I only bet what I can afford, and betting stays fun.
Right.
So what's your system?
What's that?
Your system. What's your system? What is that?
Every bettor has a system. Make FanDuel's responsible gaming tools a key part of yours.
You don't sit around imagining what life will be like when you're older. You're too busy living life. But at some point, it's time to start thinking about it. At Windsor Run Senior Living, we think about it every day. We've built an active, vibrant community with everything you need and everything you want in one place for an affordable monthly fee. Live your life at Windsor Run Senior Living. Call or visit us online to learn more.
Preparing your home for a last-minute showing can be stressful.
Babe.
With a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, you bypass the market and sell your home hassle-free. No showings, no open houses, no stress. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer today.
Welcome back to Flashpoint. Test results of the soil near a Mooresville daycare confirm what experts feared, what they call risky levels of carcinogens and radioactivity in the coal ash placed there decades ago at the time as fill dirt. WCNC Charlotte's Nate Morabito talked to an expert about what this means for families there.
The arsenic alone registered levels 69 times higher than the state of North Carolina's own soil remediation goals. The radium results, meanwhile, showed elevated radioactivity at its highest, exceeding the Environmental Protection Agency's cleanup standard. What's especially concerning is those two toxic elements are mixed with others. Kids learn some of life's earliest lessons in the play yard, a place where they laugh, run, and even possibly dig in the dirt, while these tutor time of Mooresville students frolic, full of innocence.
The dangers have been downplayed.
Their parents and teachers are also getting an education.
It's absolutely unsafe.
State records show there's coal ash in the ground beneath their feet.
It's unacceptable.
And at times over the years, pictures suggest some has made its way to the surface.
The idea that leave it as is, it's not an option.
Because of the danger to the kids.
Because of the risk for the kids.
Dr. Avner Vengosh is the latest scientist to push for immediate action, citing a wide body of research.
The continuous exposure, that is the problematic aspect.
The Duke University distinguished professor is a leading expert on coal ash.
And we are very mindful about the accuracy and the precision.
Chair of Environmental Quality at the Nicholas School.
So this is like $1 million instrument.
And oversees several labs on campus.
Places in the middle there, and we close it.
In an effort to help protect and inform the community, the scientists agreed to analyze our coal ash samples.
These two.
Collected with his guidance near the surface of a public median close to tutor time. Dr. Vengosh's tests showed the presence of more than 4 dozen elements, including known carcinogens, arsenic, and radium. One of them radioactive, both registering levels much higher than what's in the ground naturally.
What's unique about the coal ash, we're having a cocktail of multiple contaminants that those children could be exposed into it. So the impact could be even more severe than just one contaminant.
Unlike regular soil, he says this mixture of toxic tiny particles can become airborne, meaning exposure can occur simply through dust. As a father of 4, how much does this concern you?
I would very much be concerned.
Long before these children were born, when some of their parents were still kids themselves, Duke Energy legally sold coal ash from a nearby steam station to builders who needed cheap fill dirt, including under this business park, home to tutor time.
It's not in the air, in the soil, and in the water in any measurable way.
The utilities long minimized the risks, repeatedly telling us over the years coal ash is not toxic.
We have to ask that there be room in the discussion for the facts.
That stance continued recently, even after WCNC Charlotte obtained Duke Energy's own coal ash test results from the originating plant that showed what an expert called unsafe arsenic levels.
We are doing an experiment on the health and well-being of people like those kids.
Now alerted to our results, Duke Energy refuses to answer questions on camera, telling us this is ultimately the property owner's responsibility, deferring questions to the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. DEQ also declined an interview. Just last month, the agency helped with a visual inspection of the daycare. Tutor Time said that visit by state regulators found no risk to children.
DEQ should not only walk around it.
Dr. Vengash says these naive and vulnerable kids deserve more from those who should know better. People who, at the least, he hopes, are now learning a potentially life-saving lesson about how the actions of the past and present could affect the future.
The impact is not immediate. It could be 5-7 years gap between exposure to actually the occurrence of the health impact.
In response to our results, Tutor Time sent an alert to parents, reminding them the daycare is waiting on tests of its own from inside the play area. Tutor Time says a toxicologist will carefully evaluate those results when they're ready. And depending what the findings show, Tutor Time is ready to explore a range of corrective steps, noting the safety of the kids and staff remains its highest priority. Nate Morabito, WCNC Charlotte.
Really important reporting there, Nate. Thanks. More Flashpoint after this.
This town is my home. I care about the people who live here. There's no substitute for local. I get to build relationships, and that's what makes us different. North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance. Helping you is what we do best.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. Like 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Plus, get one of the latest 5G phones free when you add a line. Experience it all on America's largest and fastest 5G network. At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of unlimited for only $30 a line. Switch today.
This was me, living a cluttered and disorganized life, always stepping in my own mess, living in a space that wasn't built for my family's lifestyle. Then I did it. I took control and called the Closet Factory. My designer listened to me and came up with a custom design that fit my needs and style. The Closet Factory builds everything here locally. Courteous professionals install it all with care. The design and quality match my lifestyle.
Call to schedule your free consultation today.
Flame Central is the weekly show that takes you inside Liberty University athletics. Here, you'll get to know the people behind the jerseys and understand what drives them to succeed both on and off the field.
The Liberty Flames put college football on notice.
So tune in every week for this exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the Liberty Flames and rise with us.
Life doesn't always go as planned, but North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance is here to help pick up the pieces. Our award-winning claims team will have you back on the road in no time, because helping you is what we do best.
Welcome back to Flashpoint, folks. Come interact with us on social media. Let us know what you thought about today's show, and if there's something you want us to talk about, we can talk about that as well. And as always, remember to listen and subscribe to our podcast. You can find it wherever you get yours. And we'll see you back here next weekend.